Well, what's up? Hey, hello, guys, and Happy New Year, kicking off 2017 to a start with the podcast. Today, we are going to be doing our dream cast of Game Changers, so season 34 of Survivor, and we are also thinking of doing maybe like a Dream Second Chance, Dream All Stars, and Dream cast of people who got voted out early, so let us know what you think, and my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and recently we've seen that we've been mentioned on Reddit a lot, and neither of us have a Reddit, but if y'all think it would be good for us to get on Reddit so we can talk to you about stuff outside of the YouTube platform, comment down below. And we're also considering maybe starting a Twitter, so if you think that would be cool, comment down below too, and maybe we'll expand our social media presence a little, just because we're lame and social media is difficult sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, low-key Reddit is sort of confusing. This past season of Survivor, I just learned what a subreddit is, and it's sort of bad because Alyssa and I actually have seen the co-founder of Reddit give a talk. So not being very involved in Reddit, and when we know the Reddit co-founder, that's sort of awkward. But alas, we shall get things done. So yeah, going into our dream Game Changers cast, Alyssa and I sort of had reasoning behind the 20 people we picked. So we each picked 10, 5 males and 5 females to make a cast of 20. So we were looking for people that fit this theme of Game Changers because we thought that the season 34 cast was very, very broad and vague, and it was sort of like a ratchet cast of 20 that CBS chose to be on Survivor next season. So we actually wanted people that changed Survivor, changed the gameplay and evolved the sort of Survivor strategy. So people like that we thought were game changers. And so we didn't want to include people like Sandra or Tony or those kind of people that we see this season who have won the game, because we wanted to save these winners for an all winners cast that could happen in the near future. So that's sort of the reasoning why we didn't pick certain winners. We would totally love to see a Kim or Denise play again, but we would want them for an all winners cast. So we have picked people that have played more than once, but not everyone has won the game, and more people did not win the game in our picks for this dream cast of Game Changers.
Yes, so we each chose 5 males and 5 females, and the rule that we had in place for ourselves was that each of us could not choose more than 2 people who are actually on this Game Changers season. So I think we both chose 2 of them, but that's why we only agreed with a very small portion of the Game Changers cast. So we're going to start by saying all of the males and then all of the females. So my first pick was Johnny Fairplay, just because I think he changed the game in making it a lot more about emotional manipulation, I feel with the whole dead grandma thing. And it's generally it's not considered good to lie about the death of a family member, but I think that Johnny Fairplay kind of made it more of a anything goes type of game. And I think that changes the game, especially since before that people were still a little more reserved, I feel with talking about their outside of Survivor life in relation to the game.
Yeah, so going off of a Johnny Fairplay, I picked Russell Hantz, one of the most notorious villains who has ever played Survivor. And I feel like Johnny Fairplay, Russell really compartmentalizes the game versus the real life. So how you act in the game might not necessarily be how you act in real life. So I feel that also has changed the game. Like Alyssa was saying, Russell Hantz also was the first to find the hidden immunity idols without clues, and so that starts the whole without clues finding idols on Survivor. And he was 2nd place in Samoa and 3rd place in Heroes versus Villains. So a lot of my picks seem to be the people that made it to the end but were one step short from the end. So either people that got 4th place and just missed out on the final tribal council, or people that got 3rd place and missed out on the final 2, because I feel those people that got booted right before before the end are like the second place winners because they were so good that the people realized that they needed to get rid of them before final tribal council actually happened. And in addition, Russell created a lot of chaos and mistrust on his tribe. He dumped the water, he burned socks, and like these kinds of like intense manipulation, like borderline emotionally abusive, is something really interesting. I feel like we have not seen on Survivor until that point, and I feel like on one hand, like Russell has never had the social game to win, and that's like what we see in our other picks for game changers that are more of a social aspect, where Russell is more of like a manipulation kind of gameplay aspect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there are always people who are like, oh, Russell should have won both times, but obviously he didn't. So seeing him back again, maybe he could win. But anyways, my next pick was Ozzy, and I chose Ozzy as like a game changer just because he took a lot of like the strategic elements out, and he didn't ever really play like a very strategic game, or I would say a very social game. Like he has friends, but not really strong allies, I don't think. And he made being a challenge threat like a legitimate strategy, and that kind of paved the way for players to come like Fabio or Joe Anglim or even Jay from this past season, where like just being a challenge beast was considered enough of a threat to like get you booted out of the game.
Yeah, so speaking of Ozzy, it seems like Alyssa and I are bouncing off a lot of each other. My next one was Yau Man. He played on Survivor Fiji and Micronesia, where he got 4th place, alas, that 4th place thing, and then 18th place on Micronesia. And so I think Yau Man is super, super smart. He was like some big, like, lead of some kind of department at UC Berkeley, but also Yau Man is also like a small kind of guy, and he did well in challenges. He won a few immunities and stuff like that, and Yau Man also won that car challenge where he gave the car to Dreams, and then Dreams backstabbed him later on. He is the first person to find a hidden immunity idol and use it successfully. So Gary, Terry Dietz, and Yule, who all found the hidden immunity idols in seasons prior, never actually got the chance to use the idol. So Yau Man is the first to do that. And Yau Man is the second person after Survivor Panama to make a fake idol, and I feel like Ozzy was inspired by Yau Man to make this stick in Micronesia, as Yau Man made a fake idol in Fiji. So I think that was really like a game-changing thing. It shows like a small guy like Yau Man, you know, might not be built super athletically, like might not be super attractive and everything like that, but he can get very far in the game and succeed, and he's a very strategic threat, which is might have brought about like the modern ties and those kind of things of the recent seasons of Survivor.
Yeah. So the next person that I picked as my game changer was Stephen Fishback, just because I think kind of the opposite of the reason I picked Ozzy. Stephen kind of showed that like the nerd archetype, like the person who isn't really a challenge threat, can still make it very far in the game. And obviously Stephen didn't win, but I think that he still showed that like strategy is a big part of the game, and a social game can get you far. And I think after the game of Survivor, he also showed that like being on Survivor can help get you other opportunities. Like Stephen writes a lot for different people, and he discusses Survivor strategy, and that's like his job. So even if you don't win the million, Survivor can change your life in different ways. And I feel like Stephen kind of is exemplary of that.
Oh, I love Stephen Fishback. Oh my God. So speaking of Fishback, we have to do the other half of Rob Has a Podcast with Rob Sesternino. I think he would be perfect for Survivor Second Chance LOL, Survivor Game Changers, because Jeff has called Rob like the smartest person to never win Survivor. Rob on the Amazon, he placed 3rd place, just out of the final tribal of 2 people. So he was like super close to making to the end, and they obviously voted him out because he would be a huge threat to win the game. And Rob also introduced the idea of flip-flopping on alliances, like while maintaining the relationship with the alliance. alliance. So not like backstabbing one group to going with the other, then going back to one group, but like maintaining a cordial kind of relationship with everyone. And also Rob has a podcast. He is half of the know-it-alls that talks about different reality TV shows. Oh my gosh, the phone is ringing. And I feel like we've seen Steven play again, and it would be really interesting to see if Rob, after like talking about Survivor for so many years and analyzing it and writing like the evolution of strategy books, like if like it pays off on the actual show.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing. So the next person I chose, at the beginning we said that we weren't going to be picking very many winners, but I actually picked 2 winners in my Dream Game Changers cast, and the first of them is Richard Hatch. And I think that kind of goes without saying why I picked him. He was kind of the first person who originated the idea of like actually having an alliance in Survivor instead of just voting willy-nilly. And obviously he was the first winner of Survivor, so he changed the game in that way. And also, since he won so early on, he didn't really have a lot of the strategic elements that more modern winners do. So I feel like he might be a little outclassed when it comes to an all-winner season. Not that he wouldn't be great, because he was obviously great when he returned to play again. But I feel like he definitely would be better on a Game Changers than an all-winner season.
No, yeah, definitely. So I picked someone from this past season of Survivor, Millennials versus Gen X, and I was thinking David would be good for a Game Changer season. He was 4th place on Millennials versus Gen X. If he made it to Final Tribal, he could potentially have won that season. And I feel like it just shows that like an anxious, sort of very paranoid guy at the beginning of the game could be and turn out to be a very good player. As we saw, David had this amazing story arc from being like very nervous and like super paranoid, he was about to be the first one voted out, to like coming into his own, sort of like a Stephen Fishback kind of like nerdy, scrawny kind of archetype Alyssa was mentioning. And David also found 2 hidden immunity idols. He was a part of a rock draw, which we have not seen that many times in Survivor. So definitely someone like David would be good for a Game Changer season. I mean, it just goes to show that like anyone can play Survivor, anyone can go out there and succeed if like you believe in yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the spirit of Survivor, what it's all about. Like, you have to go out and chase your dreams. So the other winner that I picked for this Game Changers cast was JT, because he played the first perfect game. So he won the game of Survivor, and he also had no votes against him across the span of the entire game. And that doesn't really happen that often. And while we've been seeing a lot of unanimous decisions in recent seasons, it was not as common to have a unanimous vote for a winner. So I think that's kind of very vanilla reason why someone would be considered a game changer.
Yeah, and I think JT would be awesome for an all-winner season as well. So my final male for the season would be Cowboy. He was on Survivor Cook Islands, where he placed 15th. And I was asking my friend Corey, like, oh, you know, who are some people you'd want to see on Game Changers? And he was like, oh, like Cowboy. And I was like, who the heck is that? Like, I do not remember this person. So I don't know. He also has the Thai personality. Both are war veterans. They seem a little like kooky and out there. But Cowboy created the split vote in case of an idol being played, and he said it came to him in a dream, which is super interesting. So it's basically the strategy where you split the votes in case an hidden immunity idol were to be played, so those people aren't deciding who goes home. And this strategy did not save Cowboy from eventually being voted out, but this strategy has evolved into what we see it today. So I really think that's like a game-changing strategy idea. It's super interesting.
Yep. So that rounds out all of our boys. So one more time, all of them together: Johnny Fairplay, Ozzy, Stephen Fishback, Richard Hatch, JT, Rob Cesarino, Russell Hantz, Yau Man, David, and Cowboy. So now moving on to girls. The first girl that I picked was Amanda Kimmel. And part of this, to be honest, was that I wanted to pick Parvati Shallow, but she would obviously be a better choice, I feel like, for an all-winner season than that. But like Amanda, a lot of her gameplay, it was based on social game. And while we've seen other people do that, I think she brought that to the forefront again. And she also was part of the alliance that helped convince someone to give up their individual immunity for absolutely no reason. So I feel like that entire play in Micronesia and the Black Widow Brigade was a game-changing alliance within Survivor, and since Amanda was one of the like co-leaders, I'd argue, of that alliance, I think that she deserved to be on a Game Changers cast. But I also do have to clarify that even while she belongs on Game Changers, I would not want to see her play again, just because I feel like once you get 3 times, you should hands off. Survivor is done.
Move on with your life.
Yeah.
So like Amanda, I picked Surrey, who is actually going to be on this season of Game Changers. I think Surrey definitely deserves this position. And since Surrey has never won the game, she would not fit into an all-winners season or a second chance season because this is her 4th time playing. And Surrey is actually the first and only woman to play Survivor 4 times now. So accomplishments there. And Surrey is like low-key one of the best players of Survivor to never win the game. She is super strategic. She was voted out early of Heroes versus Villains because she is such a threat. And she placed 4th and 3rd in her first 2 times playing, like just being booted out right before the final tribal council. So she's basically 1 tribal away twice from final and potentially winning the $1 million. I think Surrey would be someone good to hopefully make it far this season, but it might not happen because there's so many like smaller people on this upcoming season that might want to take Surrey out, which is sad.
Yes, it is sad. So the next person I picked, who is also on this season of Game Changers, and I realized we said in the beginning we were only allowed to pick 2 people who are actually on this season. I realized that I actually picked 3. Whoops. But anyways, the girl that I picked from this season is Aubrey Bracco, and part of this, y'all can call me biased, and you're totally going to be right because I love Aubrey, and I'm not even going to pretend that I don't, but I feel like Aubrey is kind of like the epitome of getting screwed over by luck and still making it work anyways. And part of the game of Survivor is luck and like how the cards play out. But I think that Aubrey was someone who minimized the impact that just sheer luck or bad luck had on her game, because even when Neil and then Joe both got taken out by medical evacuation, she continued to persevere through the game and she continued to do well, even if she didn't win. And yeah, I just love Aubrey.
So my next one is Michelle Fitzgerald, who won Aubrey's season, which was season 32, Brains, Brawn, Beauty 2. I don't know, this would be some interesting parallels if both of them were on here. So I actually did my list before Alyssa did hers, but now thinking about it, like that would be super interesting. And I was like low-key contemplating whether I would want Michelle on a Game Changer season versus an all-winner season, sort of the same with like a Natalie White. I feel like Michelle really shows how like a social aspect of the game is something you definitely need to focus on in Survivor. It's super important and not something you should look past. And like not everything is about flashy big moves, like big gameplay. So I think someone like Michelle or like a Natalie White, but like a Michelle, since she's more recent, would be like a game changer, showing how social and like making real genuine connections and friendships on an island can win you the game and $1 million.
Yeah. So the next person that I picked as a game changer, it wasn't really because she had any significant impact on the game, but rather like it was one of the defining moments in Survivor's history. And so that's Sonia Christopher. And she was the first person ever to be voted out of Survivor. She was the first boot from Borneo. And basically, I just think that it's so interesting because it's like one of the game mechanics that we kind of like take for granted now, I guess. Like, oh yeah, of course they're gonna go vote someone out. But at the time, I feel like it was a lot bigger that happened, and it changed the game.
Yeah, so next for me is Kelly Wentworth. She is another fourth place finisher from Survivor's Second Chance. And I think she is a part of a lot of Survivor history. She played the idol that idled out Andrew Savage, which negated 9 votes, which is the most ever. Her and Jeremy did the double idol play where no votes were cast at tribal council, which is the first also. And I feel like Kelly is super smart. She was very good at the game, and I feel like her coming back where she isn't underestimated or called a goat by her fellow tribe mates would be very, very interesting to see how she fares, because now people know she's like super smart and good at the game, whereas people after San Juan del Sur were sort of like meh to a Kelly Wentworth.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the next person I picked was Candace Cody, and that was because on Cook Islands, when there was a mutiny, she decided to mutiny. And I think that was kind of a game-changing thing, just because the mutiny was a really interesting twist, I think, for one thing. And then also someone actually choosing to actively say, I don't want to be with these people anymore, is a pretty bold strategic move, especially because a lot of people attribute it to the showmance that she had on that. And so Candace actually ended up with kind of 2-ish showmances, because she had the one legit one where she like kissed him before she left, but then Billy was also professing his love for her. So Candace Cody was a mutineer and also apparently a very hot commodity on Cook Islands.
Oh my, yes. So speaking of people that start their name with C, I guess. My next one is Courtney Yates. She got second place in China and then the jury on Heroes versus Villains. And I think Courtney is so funny. She is so witty and sarcastic. I am just drawn to her personality. And I think as a game changer, she is super skinny and tall, and it goes to show that you don't have to be super physical like a Yau Man or something like that to get far in the game. Like this certain body type does not have to propel you forward in the game, but you can play Survivor in a different mind. So Courtney was often like sort of underestimated at the beginning. Maybe she was not that good in all of these physical challenges, so she often sat out of the game, but she made it far and she did get second place in China. So I feel like there are different aspects to winning Survivor, and I think Courtney definitely shows one of those different aspects that's not so gung-ho on winning challenges and stuff like that, like a Colby.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting, just because you have kind of the different people have a really different opinions about what it means to win challenges and whether or not it was like a strategic move or not. Anyways, the last person that I picked was Stephanie LaGrossa, and I have to say this is again just because I show blatant favoritism, and Stephanie has always been like my childhood hero. The first like moment of Survivor that I remember is her fire making challenge. So yeah, that is disclaimer. But I think that also that can be qualified as a game changer, just because having one tribe suck so bad that they're reduced to one person is crazy. And I think that it kind of changed the game, and it made people realize that, like, I've heard people say, like, oh, they rig it so that one tribe doesn't get all of the stuff. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You can and will be decimated if you suck. So I think that whole arc in Palau changed the game that way.
Yeah, definitely what got her voted out of Heroes versus Villains. James basically saying, you know, Stephanie is bad luck. There should be no reason why your whole tribe sucks so bad that everyone gets voted out and then you're the last one standing. So to round out our 20 people for a Dream Game Changers cast, I picked my second person from this season of Game Changers, actually. So I picked Andrea. I am thinking she might be my winner pick this season. I still need to marinate in my decisions, but I am thinking she is my winner pick. So I think Redemption Island, she is the first female to win a Redemption Island duel and return to the game. I think Andrea is very good at the game, and she was the only one willing to vote Boston Rob out in this season. And in Fans versus Favorites 2, she was blindsided with a hidden immunity idol. So I really feel like in Fans versus Favorites 2, where Andrea did have more like capability to have gameplay because it wasn't such a Boston Rob dominated season, I think she really grew into her own, and she was sort of like having some Boston Rob-esque vibes in Fans versus Favorites too. So I'd be really interested to see her gameplay in Game Changers in March. I think she will do well. Hopefully, unless it's like now we're saying this and she's like voted out early, that'd be awkward.
Yeah, awkward. Anyways, that is the end of our Dream Survivor Game Changers season. So the girls, one more time, are Amanda Kimmel, Aubrey Bracco, Sonia Christopher, Candace Cody, Stephanie LaGrossa, Surrey Fields, Kelly Wentworth, Courtney Yates, Michelle Fitzgerald, and Andrea. I'm not going to try to say her last name. So if you guys have any opinions on who you think would be in Game Changers, please remember to comment below. We love to hear from you. And we're hoping to post another DIY challenge tutorial sometime in the near future, so keep a lookout for that too.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next week, probably with a Dream All Winners cast list. So we will see you guys then.
Yay! Bye!
Bye.